Hello, hello, hello. I hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me on Ascended Warriors. This is season 2, where I'm trying to really demystify a lot of spiritual terms that can frighten, confuse, and stop people from exploring what spirituality is. So, for a long time, I have had really two worlds that I was a part of. I had the spiritual world, which is about the passion of who I am on the inside. It's my connection to nature, the things that make me feel really excited about living. And then the military side, which is not about any of those things, but it's very much about a sense of purpose, um, serving something bigger than myself, and just really being proud of what I can do. So for the last couple decades, I've been trying to figure out how to merge these two worlds, the military and the spiritual world. And what I've come to realize is a lot of what people think of as spirituality is just wrong. And it often scares them away from something that can be incredibly profound and powerful. Now, for me, spirituality helped me deal with profound, horrifying cycles of depression. It helped me find out who I was outside of the military. It helped me embrace a sense of purpose that was above and beyond anything I could have imagined. Now, too many of us think that spirituality is about religion. It's about doctrine. It's about following rules. It's a clique. It's a club. It's a cult. And I told you all the LinkedIn story. How they wouldn't publish one of my posts because they said it was from the occult. Fantastic stuff. So this whole season of Ascended Warrior is about demystifying the terms of spirituality and what it is. So in the last one, I talked about spirituality as I see it, as a way of finding out who you are, your connection to yourself, what makes you you, not what society has said you are. I'm not talking about you as a father, as a brother, as a sister, as a mom, or as a accountant or a soldier, or any of that stuff. Those are labels that have been given to you, but that is not who you are. When you really go inside and you start to work on introspection, you work on going within and figure out who you are, that space, that connection to self is your spirituality. So once you learn who you are, what you are, away from all those labels, you learn to love yourself on a way that you can't if you hold on to a false sense of identity. It's just, maybe you can. It would be much harder to do. So finding out your spirituality gives you a love for self and a love for life that I haven't found anywhere else. And that's what I want to bring to first responders and veterans and anyone else who has served, not just their communities, but their families. Anybody who has given more of themselves than they thought possible. So today I want to talk about a couple really important parts of spirituality, and that is the awakening and the consciousness. These are two terms that can be really scary for people that are not in the spiritual world, and they get thrown around a lot. We talk about awakening all the time. So what awakening is and what consciousness is an awareness of something bigger than yourselves. It's awareness of other, whether that's God, whether that's whatever that is. It's an awareness that the world is bigger than what you see. So my husband always talks about the first time he jumped, the first time he had to jump out of a plane. He said his entire trip down, he was staring at his altimeter and he was just looking at it. And his whole trip, that was the only thing he could focus on. And maybe the next 2 or 3 times he jumped, all he could see was his wrist and that altimeter, just watching the feet, watching the miles tick away or whatever, so that he knew when to pull his chute. I think of life as this. Every time when we're born, we are stuck looking at our altimeter. We're constantly focused on something very small, what is directly in front of us, because we feel fear, we feel guilt, we feel uncomfortable, we feel insecurities. All these things make us focus here. Once you get used to your life, or once you get used to the jump, and you finally pull your head up and start looking around, you are starting an awakening process. You're no longer focused down on what you can see and feel directly in front of you. You're looking up. You're looking at what's possible. I think of that as the awakening. In spiritual terms, what that means is understanding that who you are and what you are is bigger than what you've been told. It's bigger than what you understand. And the willingness to search. A lot of spiritual people consider themselves seekers or searchers, students, because they're always open to see what else is out there. I tell people all the time, I am open for you to change my opinion on the world every single day. If you can change my outlook on the world, thank you. I love it. I'm a seeker. I always have my head up looking around, trying to figure out what else is out there. And the first time I jumped, I was having a blast. I was looking around like crazy. Granted, I was tandem, so I didn't have to pay attention to the altimeter, but that's not the point. The point is, if you get to a point in your life where you're ready to raise your head up and look around and say, maybe there's something bigger out here. Maybe there's more to my life than what I'm feeling. And for a lot of us, the awakening comes with a tragic event or series of events when we realize life cannot be this painful. It cannot be this hard. There has to be something else. These crucible moments force you to slow down, to stop focusing on achieving at work or chasing outside love and entertainment. It forces you to go inside and say, what is going wrong? How do I change my life because this sucks? Some of us have multiple awakening moments because you can fall back asleep. You can start looking down again. Anytime the life pulls you back in and you're now focused on, I got to get to work. I'm working 9 to 5. When I get home from work, I've got that. You're looking down. Looking up allows a level of happiness, security, understanding, and possibility that if you haven't tried, then you don't know. That is what awakening is. It's awakening to a new world, parts of the world that you haven't thought of. And I'm not talking about magic. I'm not talking about Harry Potter stuff, although really I would be completely okay with Harry Potter. I would totally live in that world. But the world is a lot bigger, a lot more perfect and intentional than you can understand until you start to seek. When you start raising your head up and embracing your spirituality, finding out what that means to you, you have awakened to a whole new world. And it looks different for every single one of us. Now, consciousness is the other term. Consciousness is a sense of awareness. You think of it in medical terms, he is conscious, he is awake. If you think about it in spiritual terms, he is awake to the bigger world. He's not looking down. He's conscious that the world is bigger than he's been told, than he's seen, or that he understands. Being conscious, being awake, essentially the same things. These are what we strive for as spiritual people. Because with each time I raise my head up, after the world has got me at the 9 to 5 job and I've got 2,000 chores I've got to do and I got to focus down here on my wrist. Every single time I raise my head up, I remember how amazing the world is. I remember how amazing I am. I can see and understand the world in a way that makes me love it. Being awake reminds you that life is worth loving, that coming here is a gift, that being born is a gift. And if you don't feel that, and trust me, there are times that I didn't, you can. Raise your head up. Stop looking at your altimeter and admit that maybe there's something in the world that you just haven't seen yet. There's something inside you that you haven't seen yet. Those are the terms that I love because there's nothing woo-woo about them. It's aware. You are aware of not your surroundings, you are aware of the world. And that is what it means to wake up. Now, once you wake up, it can get kind of freaky. You'll start to see things that you never thought you would see before. I'm not talking about unicorns and all that other great stuff. Again, huge fan, and I would love to. What I'm talking about is seeing the patterns of the world, the patterns of events that have happened to you, things that are too amazing to be coincidence. You'll start to see these things happening to you over and over and over again. It just brings a joy of life that you can't possibly imagine. But the awakening process itself can also be really challenging because now you're going into yourself and you're saying, okay, I got some scar tissue. What do? I cannot be who I need to be if I'm hurting from something that happened to me 20 years ago. So I'm going to have to rip that scar open. I'm going to have to go into those traumatic moments of my life, and I'm going to have to learn to deal with them in a way that will let me heal for real. Now, healing is not pretending it didn't happen. It's not putting it into a little box. And it's certainly not pretending like it doesn't bother you. Healing is honoring what happened, truly forgiving yourself and whomever else is involved, and getting to a place where the emotional attachment, that emotional trigger, is no longer there. You can look at a traumatic event in your life, a time where you've done something or someone has done something to you, and feel no emotional attachment. That's where you ultimately want to get. But in the meantime, bringing up those past things can be really painful. The story of my awakening, I went to a 3-day retreat. First time I've ever meditated. And if you've heard the story, please forgive me. I cried for 3 days. The first meditation, I had to envision a part of my body that was hurting. And it was a meditation to do a body scan, and you figure out what part of your body is hurting. And for me, it was my heart. And she led us to envision what that part of the body looked like. How was it hurting? For me, the heart was ripped in half, and it was just jagged edges all along it. And when I envisioned this and I went inside and said, why is this hurting? I realized that it was hurting because of the loss of my mother, because of the abuse that I suffered at her hand when she started drinking and doing drugs. That very first exposure to meditation cracked me wide open. That was my awakening. It made me realize that I had not dealt with my past, that pretending that I was okay, putting my head down and marching forward, staring at my altimeter, was not making me happy. It was keeping me in a cycle of depression that I didn't understand. And that was just one event of many, one scar of many. That awakening process, while painful and exposing, was the greatest gift to myself that I've ever given. When you lift your head up, the possibilities are endless, and your love for self is endless. You can learn to forgive yourself for everything that you hold against you. You can learn to forgive everybody around you for anything you ever thought they did. You don't look for happiness outside because you carry it in here. That is what awakening is and what it can get for you. So if you guys have any comments, any questions, please post comments here, share this video out if you want to. Please like it. If you're on Facebook, subscribe if you want to hear other stuff. Join the Facebook group Ascended Warriors for more updates and live videos. Until next time, you guys have a great weekend. I will be live with the Muses tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on the Muses group. I believe all 4 of us are getting together for a Mother's Day special. So I hope you guys join us then. Bye.